What you need to know before you go to the hospital. My 911 bag. Hello, y'all. I'm Dianna Brianne. Well, I'm getting ready to leave the house for my doctor's appointment, my doctor's appointment that I had scheduled, and it's kind of like a follow-up for me after my visit to the ER the other night. So if you haven't watched that video, please do. I don't give recommendations, advice, suggestions, or information. I just share with you my perspective on different topics, as is with this one. And so I'm on my way to the doctor's. I've got my mask around my neck, and I'm going to see the specialist to make sure that everything is okay and that I'm doing well. I'm feeling much better today, but still not as strong as I would have been before I lost all the red stuff from the other night and being taken away by the paramedics and 911 and all that. So, if you haven't watched that video, like I said, go watch it. It's called 911 Comes to My House or something like that. So anyhow, I'm on my way to the doctor's, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about when you go to the hospital. Now, this is not for everyone, but it may be for someone. First of all, if you look behind me, I wanted to show you my 911 bag. It's a bag that I never had a 911 bag. I had a hospital bag, and that really started, it started before that, but I keep a bag packed in case I would go to the hospital. It's also a quick travel bag as well. So it has all the basic essentials: underwear, nightgowns, toothbrush, phone cords, anything that I might need along the way when I am, if I need to go instantly. But there's a big difference between a hospital bag, which is more like a small suitcase, and a 911 bag. Well, I had never been 911 before. It was so surreal for me. It was totally surreal. And so you can't take a suitcase with you. And so now I put the bare essentials, like what I would barely need, because, at first, if you're not right in a room, your advocate, which was my husband, which were each other's advocates, can't get to you because they don't let them now with all the restrictions. So I needed a small bag, and so now I've created one for myself, and I call it the 911 bag. If I were to ever need to go to the doctor's or the emergency room again by ambulance, which I pray never, ever, ever, ever. The paramedics were amazing. They were wonderful. My nurse and doctor, when I finally got into the room, were amazing. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about is called the Twilight Zone of the hospital. And the Twilight Zone for me was where the hallway. So when I first got there, because there were so many people, they didn't have any rooms in the ER. So they put me in the hallway along with what seemed to be a stack of other gurneys. And it wasn't a stack, but there were several other gurneys. And we were all facing each other. And here I'm pouring out red stuff from my nose all over the place, all over the floor, all over everything. And people had to cover their eyes. And it was horrible. But it was the Twilight Zone. I don't know if I had an armband on. I think I did at that point. But in my opinion, I don't think you're assigned yet to a nurse because you're not assigned to a room. So it's like the Twilight Zone. They're really not doing a whole lot for you at that point. And they put a big clothespin on my nose, a clothespin-like thing, apparatus, and it was terrible, that Twilight Zone space, because my husband couldn't come in to speak for me. And when you're covered in red stuff, my face was covered, my hair was covered, my clothes was covered, I'm spitting up and everything. You're not a good advocate for yourself. And I feel that everyone needs an advocate when they're in a vulnerable position. And I've talked about that in other videos. Advocacy, especially over the age of 60. As you all know, I'm over the age of 60. And so it was really, really, really something. And so that Twilight Zone of being in the hallway, but because I was getting red stuff all over the floor, all over the gurney, people were like, they got me a room really, really quick. And they began to try to stop the red stuff from flowing. And did. Thank goodness. And by then I was so weak because I had passed out as well from losing the red stuff on my bathroom floor. And it just happened. It just happened. It was one of those flukes. How can you predict things like this? This was an unpredictable, suddenly event. That's why I have the 911 bag. So hopefully never in my life will I ever have to use it. But when my daughter took sick suddenly 3 years ago with portal vein thrombosis, I did a whole video on that a while back. And it was a suddenly. I mean, we never had a clue that she had anything wrong. They kept telling us it was the flu. But we ended up having to have her 911. The first time I took her to the emergency room and she had to be transferred out really quick. So I had to run home, throw clothes in a bag. So then after that, I kept what I call a hospital bag for fear that we'd have to go back to the hospital. But I didn't have a 911 bag because I never thought about it. But you can't take a suitcase with you in 911, okay? And so I want a phone cord. I want my phone because that was my only communication, was my phone with my husband. And he was out there and they weren't letting him come in. And I was telling him, this is awful in the Twilight Zone, But once I got into the room, like I said, I had a fantastic doctor, a fantastic nurse. The hospital is actually top notch, but that Twilight Zone part was not the best situation. So I hope maybe they can come up with a better solution instead of the Twilight Zone hallway of the hospital. And so now I'm on the way to the doctor. So that's kind of like what I think you need to know, is that you need to be prepared, with bare essentials if in the event that you would ever need to go suddenly, or if you had a planned event, you need to pack at least just a small suitcase, not a lot. You don't need a lot, phone cords or phone charger. If you're going to take a laptop, if you're not 911, obviously, if you're going for something else, you need to have a small suitcase, or in this situation, a bag. And in that bag, I have everything I need, including a nightgown. I have everything. So I created that yesterday for myself. So hopefully, like I said, I never need it. I can always take it on an overnight trip. If nothing else, I can take it for an overnight trip. And so I'd prefer to take it for an overnight trip than for 911, okay? And so I think, and remember, have an advocate. If you can possibly, even if it's a friend that sits there next to your bedside, have someone else in the room. I feel that you get treated very, very differently, especially when you're in a vulnerable position, when you have someone else in the room watching and observing. I can tell you, that is probably my number one bit of advice to myself, because I only give advice to myself, is to always have an advocate. And I did. My husband was fantastic once he got into the room. But while he couldn't get into the room because I didn't have a room, I had no advocate but myself. And it was terrible, because when they can't even recognize you because you're a mess, they kind of just, I don't know. But anyhow, I am so glad that I'm here. I'm on my way to the doctors. I share my life. I try to be reasonably transparent. I don't think we should share everything, but I do try to be reasonably transparent. I'm not looking my best because I still have crusting, from the blood that's the red stuff that dried. And if I don't look exactly my best, but I want to come on here and be realistic with you. I want to be transparent. Because I'm an over 60 channel and I'm here to inspire, but I don't want to inspire people and let them think that life, your best life comes without problems. We all get problems. We all get things that happen. And so I wanted to let you all know that I'm a real person too, and I get real problems just like anybody else. I don't want any more though. That was enough the other night. So anyhow, I gotta go, and I will talk to you all soon again. May God bless you. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.